Bu Nator Shil Yachad Nuwabakedi Waloi Maorwo, the pledge of the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors. Ama Kakdemu Sefunut Hade Gedash Manuf, as I stand beneath our sacred and holy flag. Kanderu Ruki Maul Ke Kehikano, Ama Kashgeru Zitaur, I vow to be loyal, obedient as I watch it fly. Ru Ganunwu Shil Manut Naonut, Faref Nawus Weloinut, to the laws of our Constitution that govern our nation. Ru Hare Sabu Kahmelu Tupusumhem, to this cause I hold my head up high. Akara Garur Kantero Ruharus Hade Tahum, with pride I pledge to protect and defend. Kalu Akara Hare Walao Weloi Kalu Hanuf Hade Samur, all within this great nation, both family and friend. Ru Yankud Faref Karetkut Mu Adorhut Agoyu, to ensure all has their equal rights. Ruhare Sabul Kazur Gedu Atnachum, to this cause I will lay down my very life. Ama Kapdemu Kachuth Hare San Un Hade Gedash Danun, as I stand beneath this sacred and holy seal. Kanderu Nafusum Mewa Chelas Hade Kazut Menu Tiat Mewikanu Akara Khera, I vow myself loyal, sincere, and vow integrity with zeal.
So sitting next to you, or sitting behind you or front, so sitting next to you, you might be sitting next to Black Devil.
It states in Psalms chapter 82, verse 6, I have said ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High.
This is the Elder Raziel with a message for the children of the Elohim.
I walked a long journey on the short path, where after this mind expands math itself. Came through with the master teacher. Get wealth from what I have to teach you. Not a preacher, the Anunnaki created this creature, fully packed with features. Nuwabu knocking off leeches. Peace to Malachi, Ziyor, Noble Jew Ali, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Respect and pay homage from the Anunnaki tribe. We hope to see you. We still kicking the flows. All the girls know. Just list the show so your mind grows toward a genetic explosion. X out whoever was chosen by deception to sell out Negro, the greatest destruction. Without question, knowledge is a weapon. Like Cain, ain't no half-stepping to a greater direction. All right, this is Right Knowledge Radio with your host, Murhuta Hedokayu, and this is the day of year 82 in the Nuwabic year, month of Ma'at, which means the month of justice, and that is the 17th month, first week, 5th day of Nudimud, our Cushite brother, Nudimud. So, what's the Gregorian Caucasoid date? It is Friday, June 30th, 2023. You know what I mean? So let's get into the show for today. The show that we felt it was important to talk about today is religion is not culture. I got to tell so-called blacks or Negroes, you know, that religion is not culture. What's the difference? Religion is stories, allegory, symbology that's cleverly woven into text. It may take real elements like land, places, even people, but it may transcend them out of time and even out of context of the original person or the original story that was written. You know, like there's no real character called Jesus Christ, and I think there's no real character called Yahshua HaMashiach, but there was a real character in ancient Egypt. right? That's where the stories come from, ancient Egypt. And Jesus Christ is a Caucasian, which they made up out of ancient Egypt. Yahshua HaMashiach, even though he was a brother, still that character may be made up by the Israelites that migrated out of Egypt originally to Palestine, Israel, and Yehuda, right? So still more research needs to be done on that to figure out what's fact and allegory through the Holy Tabernacle Ministries, because the Holy Tabernacle Ministries practices factology, right? Factology. Time to put the fairy tales down, or understand it's a fairy tale, and adults shouldn't believe in fairy tales. Yes, you should not believe in fairy tales. Haradur anu. Haradur kelau anu, which means all praises for Anu. All right, so we have a show today. Now, culture is language. I just heard a recent audio with the master teacher saying if you don't speak your language, then you don't have a culture, right? At least the basics, man. At least the basics. You got to nail down the basics. We actually have an initiative here at the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors to start learning, right? I mean, I've been learning solo. Actually, I've been learning Arabic. If you've been listening to Holy Tabernacle Ministries webcast and RIT NALEJ Radio webcast, that I've been studying Arabic, because it's things that I need to research, and I have to read it in Arabic, not the translation as the master teacher would have wanted it. Peace to Nuwabian Urakta. I don't know who's keeping them in there, but kind of messed up that they keeping him in there like that. They ain't really fighting for his freedom. So religion, culture, why is it important? Because every other race and tribe of people have culture, except Americans. I'm not even gonna nail it down to the American Negro. I'm gonna say except Americans. Americans really don't have culture. When I was a truck driver, driving like in Missouri, Kansas, their culture is like the Clayton Gang Museum. That's their culture. That's not culture. That was a gang. We're talking about art, movies actually depicting your culture, how you eat, how you dress, not the military. That's not culture. And that's America. Military is not culture. No. The military is supposed to spring up from the culture. Certain rituals, from your tribe that they practice in the culture. The way you eat food, the way you set up for food, the clothes that you wear, the way that you walk, the hand signals that you give. That's all culture. That has nothing to do with religion. And that's something that the Negro and Americans and the Caucasoid too don't have it either, because he lost his culture from England, because he tried to distance himself from England. So now he lost his culture. But then, since the American Negro wants to be like the Caucasoid, he also followed him down the pits of hell, and he also lost his culture. So now a new thing had to spring up, and that's the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors. Those melanated ex-Negroes that wanted to be Moor, that wanted respect, that wanted a language, they wanted a culture. That's what this nation is about. You know what I mean? And for the simple fact that now there's a versus war, right? Like Pan-Africanism versus people who say that they're Moors, that say they're indigenous to this land. I'm like, why is that a war? And that's the first Negro thing. Moors should not participate in discussions like that. Not Nuwabian Moors, because brother like Umar Johnson, we're gonna play some of his stuff today. I like brother Umar Johnson, got love for him, but he's a little bit of a scammer, for the simple fact, ladies and gentlemen, that he has not built that school. He bought the property, but he ain't renovated it. And he's switching names of the entity that owns the school, so to not pay taxes. But he's still asking for money for the school. Well, it's like, well, brother, what did you do with the couple $1 million we already gave you? On top of you buying the school. What happened with that? You know, why did they freeze your GoFundMe account? Because you couldn't prove where you're spending the money, what it was for. So again, these fantasy Pan-Africanism, it's really a fantasy. The guy wants to be the king of Africa. He wants to be the king of black people. And you could tell by the way that he talks. He starts talking about other Moorish groups. You know, I hate the word black when it describes slaves, because that's basically what black, Negro, black is the same word in 2 different languages. So I reject the whole notion of black. Call me a Nuwabian. You know, out of respect, call me a Nuwabian, brother. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And those, you know, and for brothers and sisters listening across seas, in England, in the UK, you also are probably indigenous to America, because a lot of our people, the slavery that happened here, most of it was not Africans. Most of it was indigenous people from here that went to England, and then they went to Liberia. So a lot of Liberians are our descendants from here, Cherokee, Iroquois. You know what I'm saying? Because what the Caucasoid tried to do, even though the show's not even about this, right? I'm kind of taking a left turn here. All right, Haradur ke Lauruano. They shipped, because it was Indian, way more. Well, I hate the word Indian too, because we're not Indians. That's some old Caucasoid stuff. That the indigenous people here, the Niji from here, were actually shipped out to the Caribbeans, to England, right? Because we did fight for England because we didn't like the local Caucasoids here. So we fought with England and the British, and when they left with the British. You know what I mean? So a lot of those people are indigenous to this land. Some of them could be part of my Aniuia tribe, you know, I don't know. So that's the real story behind that, because the Caucasoid wants to hide the fact that, yes, he enslaved human beings, not Negroes. He calls Indians, but still we had rights. You enslaved the people you should not have enslaved. Right? You tried to get away with it. You tried to omit the whole history of it. And I got about 10 books talking about Indian slavery. So don't give me this African crap. Only 5% of the African trade came to North America. Right? And that's a fact. Umar Johnson, with your Pan-Africanism fairy tale stories, man. You better get yourself out of here. You know what I'm saying? And let's go back to culture, because this is an argument I have against someone like an Umar Johnson, right? You say that you're African, which doesn't make sense. If you're from Africa, people from Africa don't say that they're African only when talking to Americans if they know. They would say, oh, I'm Tanzanian, I'm Zimbabwe, I'm from the Limba tribe, from the Ewe, the Dongola, things like that. They don't say I'm African. Spoken like a true foreigner, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, Umar Johnson, we still got love for the brother. He just wilding out for the money. You know what I'm saying? Not that he doesn't speak no truth. When it comes to psychology and stuff, the brother does speak truth, and that's where I love him at. But when it comes to building the school, I'm disappointed. So again, before I play a Dr. Umar Johnson here, let's go to the Webster Dictionary, my friends, my Nuwabian friends, and let's start to look up definitions of words. So we will type in religion. What are they? And the word religion in Nuwabic is dayun. Dayun. You know, dayun. So you could say takretu dayun. Takretu dayun would mean you have religion. You know. So let's look up let's look this up. So I'm at Webster or Merriam-Webster.com, right? So it says religion, one, the first sense of the word, a personal set or institutionalized system of religious attitudes, beliefs, and practices, which is that's a horrible description of a religion. Actually, if you want to look up definitions of words, look up the Oxford. You got to go to England to get the true words because that's where the language came from. Americans are kind of ghetto with English. They're kind of ghetto with English, right? So you can't use religious when trying to define religion. You would have to use another word, right? So I don't agree with that definition. So 2A1, the service and worship of God or the supernatural. That makes more sense. So 2A2, commitment or devotion to religious faith or observance. Now that is a good definition. 3, a cause, principle, or system of beliefs held to with ardor and faith. Right? Now here's an archaic form, scrupulous conformity. Now, I'm not familiar with the word scrupulous, but we about to type it in right here. That's the beauty of the internet. We can bring up information very quickly. It's an adjective. 1, having moral integrity, acting in strict regard for what is considered right or proper. Now, why is this archaic? So it's saying having moral, having moral integrity, acting in strict regard for what is considered right or proper. I mean, so if we go back to the word religion, the fourth sense of the word, they say it's archaic, which really means it's rarely used in this sense. It's scrupulous conformity, conscientiousness. Right? Now that is more like ancient Tambray and Shaitaut not the Or, right? The religion that we practice, not animism. I mean, if Shaitaut not the Or is animism, then yes, animism in a way, in a sense. But we want to stay away from the Roman Latin word animism. That's a Latin word. So I don't really, it's out there for them, but for us, we say Shaitaut not the Or. All right, no more Greek and Latin words for us. I mean, that time has passed. And the audio that I heard on the Pamus Batu channel with Amun Numa, right? Master teacher spoke about a book they had put out, and he said, "Is the language on there?" Right? He said, "Is the language on there?" And the sister said, "No." He's like, "Man, we got to put the language on there. We're at a time now that forget the Greek and Latin and English, man. I mean, you could speak those languages, but your primary language needs to be shifted toward your tongue that belongs to your culture." Right? Remember, no language, no culture. Yes, I would also like to bring out the fact that I've listened to some YouTube videos explaining that, not explaining, but I'm hearing different Moors from across the planet, right? From Haiti, from Africa, I'm sorry, not from Africa, from Somalia or Nigeria, right? Even Ghana. And they got these videos, African Americans versus Africans, which is the most misidentified title I've ever heard in my life. So the Nigerians, and Nigerians don't like black Americans, right? Like Somalians don't like black Americans, really. They think you have no culture. I agree with them. Busta Rhymes said black people in America have no culture. I agree with them. They don't. At the end of the day, they don't. The argument that I hear is very emotional. It's cool. I mean, but you're getting emotional about nothing. You dress like a Caucasian. You talk like a Caucasian, right? Now, if you're speaking English well, that's fine. You want to speak English well. Any language you speak, you want to speak it well. Not like a ghetto ass nuh. Negro. You don't want to sound like that, man. And that brings up another point that one of the brothers in the government ministry shared us a link talking about talking black, or what's talking black. Now, I watched this documentary. It's about an hour, and that had to be one of the stupidest arguments I've ever heard in my life as a highbrow Nuwabian Moor. So the Caucasoid has classified substandard English and assigned it basically to black people, gave it a name. Now the sister I was talking to, she had the name for it. They used to call it Ebonics. They tried Ebonics, that didn't work, and now they came up with a new name. Excuse me. Now, what I heard during the documentary, from my perspective, right? I heard that the substandard English that black people talk was accepted. First of all, it was a concept by Caucasian academics, foreigners, colonist foreigners. They assigned it to their slaves, the Negroes, right? And the Negroes accepted it. You know, you had brothers on there like, yeah, if I go to St. Louis, I say, what's poppin'? And if I go to Houston, I'm saying, yeah, what's up, man? You know, and that's cool on your little street corner. But I know I worked in computers for about 15 years. Now, if I went into my job talking substandard Ebonics, there's no way I could have got my job sounding like a retard. There's no way I could have got my job, brother. No way. So, if you accept the fact that you talk like a mumbling fool, oh, that's the way my people talk. Well, see, that's what separates a Nuwabian Moor from a Negro, black, or a colored. That talking like a retard is not really accepted in Nuwabian culture. You will get fronted on. You will get probably made fun of and looked at very not desirable by our women. Now, amongst black women, that's fine. You know, women with no culture. Amongst the Nuwabian Morena, that's not gonna happen, right? You're not gonna be able to get that woman, that intelligent, fine Nuwabian women, or woman that came from ancient Tamaray, ancient Kushite, got all the good blood in her, right? To create a marvelous tribe, unmixed, pure, right? We would call it Tewar, in Nuwabic Tewar, right? Pure, yeah, purity, Itawira, right? So these things need to be adhered to, right? Speaking well, my dad always told me, you speak well, son, you get paid well, right? And that holds true to this day, right? People respect somebody who can speak well. That's how you become the president of the United States. Now, Joe Biden is a horrible speaker. I can speak better than Joe Biden, but I guess he's okay. Well, it's black people that put his old butt up there. He looked like he about to just, you know, hit the funeral home pretty soon. I mean, he looked old, like he should be chilling, not working. You know, his working days is over. But anyway, the show's not about Joe Biden. So so we looked up the word religion. Let's actually look up the word culture. Let's see if Webster can even get this right. Next time I'm gonna use Oxford next time. So culture, it's a noun, right? 1A, the customary beliefs. That has nothing to do with beliefs. Well, you know what? It could be belief, like belief in your culture, but Nuwabians don't believe, so we wouldn't use that in our definition of culture. So 1A, the customary beliefs, social forms, and material traits of a racial, religious, or social group. No, religion is not culture. So that's a bad definition. That's a very bad definition. Religion is not culture. You can't mix the two. So let's see 1B, the set of shared attitudes, values, goals, and practices that characterizes an institution or organization. Well, I mean, this is really, it's a Latin word. So English people really don't have the right to define what culture is, going by the rules of language. The set of values, conventions, or social practices associated within a particular Nah, this is terrible. So they really don't have a name for what we would call culture, which is right now asaloi. Asaloi. That's culture. I guess it translates to culture in Nuwabic, but it's not the same word as you hear my commentary. So, yeah, that's not quite it. So the Caucasoid is a little confused about his culture. It doesn't even know how to define the word, right? Because if we look down here, culture is, there's no etymology. Oh, there is an etymology. Middle English cultivated land, cultivation from Anglo-French, from Latin cultura. So it's really a Latin word, and it comes from the word cult, right? Because my thing is, look, y'all, the master teacher said, in language, that's where all your problems are. In language, because they play word games. You know, half of English ain't even English. It's Latin, French, and Greek. So when a brother go to court and they're speaking, the judges are speaking Latin when the national language is English. So right there, if you're not really studying those Latin words, you're probably not going to win your case, right? So, well, it's up to the Caucasian to fix his problems. I mean, we got our own government and stuff like that. So, and we still need to fill more ministries. Uje Wazir, a minister is a Uje Wazir. So that's what we need to do, right? So anyway, we've looked at the definitions. Culture really didn't fit the definition of culture. So that's kind of weird. But now we're going to shut the music and we're going to play a little bit of Umar Johnson.
Not need alone, not disability alone. You got a son with so-called ADHD, but he's an A, B, or a BC student. Why does he have an IEP? If the ADHD, so-called, because it don't exist, if it's affecting his ability to function, he gets a 504 plan. But if it's not affecting his ability to learn, he cannot go to special ed. I had a young lady with a hearing impairment. She didn't want to wear the hearing aid. So they put her in special ed because she didn't want to wear the hearing aid. I said, well, first of all, I wouldn't wear it either. It looks like a computer on the side of her damn head. How about you get her a miracle ear that goes inside the ear so other kids can't tell she has this, so she don't feel insecure about her appearance? And that's what we did. We switched out the air tube, and now she has a better hearing aid. She can sit in a regular class. We tore the IEP out. You don't go to special ed because you have a disability. You go to special ed because the disability affects your learning.
Okay. Very important point. Very important point. Even though this is kind of an add-on to the main show topic, this is an example because he's in South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, at a book signing, and it looks like a Moorish, which they would call an African store. Very beautiful paintings of melanated Moorish sisters with head wraps. The lion, there's a picture of a lion above a flat screen TV. Very, very, I would feel right at home there, right? Now, when he talks about psychology, I think this is important because we got to watch out for the next generation. We got to watch out for our offspring, the Nuwabian Moorish offspring, or what they would call the black offspring, which I don't like the word black because it denotes that you don't have a culture, right? So, Dr. Umar is giving off game about how to manage your child within the Caucasoid school system. Now, but there's so many black parents that are not involved in their child's education. It's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. It's getting worse and worse day by day. Um, I'm hearing in a documentary in Chicago with the O Block projects, right, where they're shooting each other like crazy, that the brother said, "We don't know how to raise childs. We don't know how to raise childs. We don't know how to raise them." And I said, "Well, that makes a lot of sense. That's why the teenagers are going nuts and the young adults are going nuts. They're shooting each other like it's Duck Hunt, like Nintendo Duck Hunt. I mean, it's crazy." So, and it all starts in school. It all starts at the home, and it starts with the mother goddess, right? It starts with the mother goddess. It also starts with the father too, man. Because if the mother, most American black women cannot raise an adult. Now they could raise from about infancy, from the day the baby is born, to maybe about middle school, about junior high, right? Once they hit junior high, puberty kick in, the mother can't really do nothing about it. She she's done her part, but the fact that the father is not there, meaning she can't give him the baton to continue teaching. And the mother can still be there to support. I think the mother should be teaching and the father should be teaching. However, to raise young adults, a young man, the father must be there. That would cut down on a lot of, ADHD, which Dr. Johnson calls ain't no daddy at home disorder, which is true, right? And then all this violence, this senseless violence, simply because the child, the teenager, the young adult never really felt loved. You know what I'm saying? Never felt loved. And then you got the role switching between the man and the woman. The woman's trying to be the man. She's accepted it. But this is all part of black culture. Which, look, y'all, let me tell you something about black culture. There is no black culture. There is no culture there at all. Black culture is really corporate advertising, right? Whatever they see on TV, that's what black people want. They want to be the love in hip hop. The women want to paint their hair blonde and purple and red and green and olive and all the colors of the rainbow. Our sisters look embarrassing. They look super ghetto. I wouldn't approach it. I wouldn't approach them with a starship. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't even beam down to the girl like, nah, I can see you above the planet. You look kind of ghetto. I'm not going to beam down there to you. I'm kind of straight, sister. I'm straight. So, and I don't know how many other educated, highbrowed men think like me, but I'm not going for that. You know what I mean? It's a little ridiculous. And that's all comes from TV, Lady Clairol commercials. You got to understand, women are very gullible, very emotional beings, which their mothers have not taught them how to harness their power. Women are very powerful beings, especially our women, Morenas, the Moorish woman, especially our women. You know what I mean? But they so angry and in fairy tale land, it's kind of hard to bring them back sometimes. But that's why we look for cultured Moorish women. Join the nation because we're trying to continue forming our community on our land in Arizona. So let's continue to listen to Dr. Umar Johnson about his take on children, our children, right? Because we need to hear this. You know what I'm saying? Like from whoever is an educated melanated man. You know what I mean? We don't want to listen to the ignorant one. We don't want to be the blind following the blind. However, we do want to listen to those who are knowledgeable that look like us in our same genetic pool.
And you parents with this ADHD nonsense, you need to stop it. Every other black boy in the hood is on stimulant medication. Ritalin, Adderall, Concerta, Metadate. Are you crazy? These are nothing but synthesized forms of crack cocaine. The same drugs they sell on the street they're giving your kids so they can sit still long enough to learn about Anne Frank and Christopher Columbus. And you know what makes it worse? We don't diagnose ADHD inside the classroom. ADHD got to come from the hospital or the clinic. I can evaluate for it outside of the school, but I cannot evaluate for ADHD in the school because it's a mental disorder. It's not a special ed disability. So that means any child in special ed for ADHD is only there because their mother or father went outside the school, got a diagnosis, brought the diagnosis back to the school. Look how ridiculous that is. You bring in white folks paperwork that they can use to lynch your child with. If you never bring that diagnosis into the school, there's no way he could be in special ed for something the school don't even know about. ADHD. It's a joke. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. No, it's not. It's ain't no daddy at home disorder, ADHD. And why do I say that? Because over 85% of black boys diagnosed with ADHD don't have a father in their life. This is about a war on black males that send the fathers to jail, leave the mothers at home to try to raise sons on their own, which is not fair. And because the mothers can't do that because they're overworked and they got enough responsibilities to handle, they end up sending your son to the doctor because they don't want to give him his daddy back. This ain't got nothing to do with brain neurology. This is about systemic white supremacy. Kill all the males. And that's exactly what they're doing. See, there's 6 stages in the psychoacademic holocaust, brothers and sisters. First, they miseducate the kids on purpose. And you need to understand that miseducation is not a function of poverty. It's not a function of the dad in jail. It's not a function of the mother being on Section 8. It's not a function of Lil Wayne or sagging pants or basketball. It's a function of racism. The black kids are deliberately miseducated in South Carolina. Why? Because if you don't deliberately miseducate black children in South Carolina, you cannot guarantee privilege for the white ones.
Okay. So the brother spoke truth about racism and how it affects Moors in these Caucasoid devil schools. You know what I mean? So you wonder why in most schools Moors don't do as well as the Caucasoid because it's designed that way. And even outside of the school is designed to hurt us because not only are they in a race for their race, but you're not in a race for your race or your tribe or your community, whatever, or people who look like you. Yeah, it is about race. It is about race with these colonizers. You know, they're from Europe. So of course, the only way they can continue to hold power is to miseducate the future children that don't look like them so that their child can get the advantage over your child. Right? So we need to create our own schools, which some brothers and sisters do have schools at their house. They're not doing what Umar Johnson's doing. Well, Umar Johnson has failed. Intelligent brother, he's failed business-wise on creating that school as of to this day. Now, if he turns it around, opens up the school, I will go visit Delaware myself to congratulate the brother. We will be so elated, so happy, so delighted. We would be so delighted that the presence of Anu would be in this brother to do this. But that hasn't happened. And he's making a lot of people upset now. I heard he almost got knocked out in a church in Harlem, rightfully so. Because brothers and sisters donated, they mad. Where the school at? I want to send my children there. Or I don't want to say children, I say childs now. Because the S makes it plural. That's what they told me in school. So, but he is correct about, let's go back a little bit so we could hear what the brother's saying. He's talking about ADHD, let's listen.
Sagging pants or basketball, it's a function of racism.
Okay, that reminds me. It's a function of racism. So ADHD, there's no such thing called ADHD. They made it up. They can't point to a genetic marker or or some neuron in the brain that, that connects with all the other cellular points in your brain. They can't find that. But they diagnose it and they give the mama paperwork. Now, he talks about earlier in this video, you got to sign 4 sets of paperwork before they can put your child on drugs. And you just heard a couple minutes ago, they're giving children forms of crack. And black people are so stupid, so dumb, that they believe everything the Caucasoid says, even about their children. That's why the children are messed up to today. Because I guess in Gregorian time, I'm 43 years old, and I had to tell a young lady I'm talking to that we failed your generation. My generation failed your generation. So that's why you guys came out so crazy, because we were kind of spoiled from the baby boomers, our parents, their grandparents. So it all trickles down the line. But as the United Nuwabian Nation of Moors mandate, we need to create a community and get them out of the city. Get them back toward natural living. Let's haul the water. Let's create our own rainforest. Let's grow our own crops. Let's build our own buildings. Let's pray at our own temples. Let's sit by a lake or a pond and talk, read poetry, read scripture. Just lay out in the sun, whatever. Just meditate, pray, whatever. Chant to bring good energies. Chant for the ancestors, chant for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Anu. You know what I'm saying? These things, you can't do that in the projects. You can't do that really in the hood. You just can't do it. You cannot do it. So what I'm saying is, and what the master teacher said is, we got to get back to natural living. You know what I'm saying? So let's continue to hear Dr. Umar Johnson speak.
The black kids are deliberately miseducated in South Carolina. Why? Because if you don't deliberately miseducate black children in South Carolina, you cannot guarantee privilege for the white ones. You'll never see the black kids' test scores go as high as the white ones, because white people make the test. They determine the measuring stick. The day black kids outperform white kids on any test, that test gets burned by the midnight. They can't do it. White kid privilege must be protected, and in order to do that, you give black kids the worst schools, the worst teachers, the worst resources. And the black community can't cry victim because you spend $2 billion a year on Air Jordans, $4 billion a year on liquor, $30 billion on weed, perm, and beauty products, $800 million a year on chicken, turkey, beef, and pork. You are literally financing your own heart disease. We buy twice the amount of Mercedes Benzes as white people, but we have 1/3 of the wealth of Europeans. Can somebody explain to me where in the African DNA is Mercedes Benz? The reason we're so addicted to the Mercedes is we're addicted to status. And since we don't enjoy real freedom in America, we would just rather surround ourselves with the symbols of it. That's why most Negroes spend most of their money trying to look more important than other Negroes. Will Smith said it best. Most black people spend too much money they do not have, buying things they do not need to impress other black people they don't even like. No more special ed. And if your child is in special ed, you can get them taken out. All you have to do is call an IEP meeting. And stop calling me up saying, Dr. Umar, what do I do? They put my child in special ed. Ain't no they. We. Your signature is required 4 times before any child goes into a special ed class. There is no they, it's always we.
See, told y'all, I told you. So no, I'm not gonna say our. I'm practicing not saying our women, because all black women are not our women. Obviously, the black woman is fighting the black man. I envision my ideal woman wouldn't fight me and put me in a jail and try to take everything that I had. That's not my woman. And I don't care how much she looked like me. That's culturally, we are not the same. And we got to understand, Moors are tribal people. We're tribal people. I mean, stop lumping us up. Stop listening to the Caucasoid's definition of what you are. You declare what you are. You know what I'm saying? But signing this paperwork with these Caucasoid schools, this is not good. You know what I mean? It's you're not even, these women aren't even reading the paperwork. You know what I mean? And these are the same women that run up to the government begging for child support. Like the government is the new man. That's their man, the government. I've even seen child support tattooed on some black women. So they make themselves look bad. Black people make themselves look bad. And then you got the Caucasoid on you too. It's like, that's impossible. That's an impossible situation for so-called black people to get out of. That's why I stopped being black. I found out who I was from my family, not from Dr. Umar Johnson, because Dr. Umar Johnson don't know my great-grandfather, my grandfather, my grandma, my great-grandma, my mom, dad, cousins. He don't know none of them. So he can't tell me I'm from Africa because he don't have enough information to come to a intelligent decision. So he also has an agenda to push, which is he's the Prince of Pan-Africanism, which I have no idea what that means. None. He tries to be on some Marcus Garvey stuff, but Marcus Garvey had Ku Klux Klan members speaking at his meetings. Do y'all know that? He had he was cool with the Ku Klux Klan. They're like, oh yeah, you niggas want to go to Africa? Cool, we want you to go to Africa too. We want your land here in America. Turtle Island, we want it. So yeah, you niggas go to Africa. And then Marcus Garvey also said that he was the king of Africa in front of some Ghanaian chiefs, right? And the man had never been to Africa from the Wuda to the Tuda. Never, from the womb to the tomb, he had never even stepped foot in Africa in his whole existence, talking about he's the king of Africa. I'm not too sold on Marcus Garvey, but he did have a message. I don't care about the man. I just care about the works that he did in the message. His message was good, but he messed up a couple times because he didn't know what he was doing. And he loved the British. You better go look back at Marcus Garvey. Check out a channel called UBTV. The brother, he broke it down. Marcus Garvey loved Caucasians. Let me say it one more time. Loved Caucasians. Loved them. And none of these Negro scholars are going to tell you the truth about it, but watch UBTV. Watch it. Just watch it. I'll try to put the link in the show notes here. So let's continue to listen to our friend, Dr. Umar Pan-Africanist Johnson.
Docile black parents and racist white teachers and school administrators. You need both to miseducate. Without a docile black parent, there is no school to prison pipeline. Without a I don't want to be bothered, just show me where to sign at black parent, there is no school to prison pipeline. You got to sign permission for the school psychologist to evaluate. That's me. You got to sign the evaluation report when I'm done, saying you agree with it. You got to sign the IEP, and then you got to sign the service agreement so special ed can be delivered. Your name must be signed 4 times before special ed starts. I don't want to hear about what they did. Talk about what y'all did. And remember this. They can't force you to put your child in special ed, but they can force you to keep them in once they're there. Remember this. They can't force you to put your child on Ritalin, Adderall, Concerta, and Meditate, but they can force you to keep them on the meds once they're on the meds. And I want y'all to understand something. Once you get the ADHD evaluation, they can force the medication. See, if you don't plan on doping your child, you must refuse the evaluation. Because the evaluation is the key that the school needs to call up Child Protective Services in Columbia to bully you to medicate your child. And if you don't, they'll take all the children from you. It's called medical neglect. It's one of the fastest growing reasons as to why black parents are losing their children. Medical neglect, not abuse. Not caregiver neglect, no. Failing to give your child dangerous medications because you didn't want to listen to Dr. Umar when he told you refuse the eval, because if they get the label, they will treat it like cancer. They treat ADHD like cancer. They will tell you your son has this mental problem and he needs the medication. And you know what I always ask white folks? Can you show me exactly where the ADHD is in his brain? Is it in the front? Is it on the side? Is it in the back? Where is it?
See, I told you. There's no such thing as ADHD. They just make it up. With a lot of mental disorders, they make it up. There's no physical evidence for it. It's all just it's a mental social construct. And then the pharmaceutical companies have to have contracts with like whatever governing body governs these psychiatrists who make up they literally make up the diagnosis. There is no evidence for it. None. They say, oh, your child's hyper. Well, children have a lot of energy. Child can't pay attention. Maybe you need more recess. Or maybe this is just not the school for my child. How about that, Negroes? This is not the school for my child. I want my child to be natural. I don't want my child on crack to learn. I shouldn't have to put my child on crack to learn this curriculum that you have at your Caucasoid school today. Time to start homeschooling your children, or child, I'm sorry. Time to start. It's time to start. Stop sending your children, your child to the devil. What do you think the devil gonna do? And you gotta understand, they even miseducating their own offspring. America cannot compete academically with Taiwan, China, schools in Africa that can barely have running water and electricity, and them childs speak like 7 or 8 different languages. Americans can't even speak English well. Okay? So the proof is in the pudding, y'all. Now, help us build a school, a Nuwabian school we'll teach. They will be sharp coming out of our school. We're not dealing with none of that black stuff. We're not just going to study slavery like Dr. Umar. No. And your kid will learn how to do taxes. He'll learn about credit, which credit is a sin in the good books. Usury is a sin, also in Al-Quran. So we don't recommend it, but it is in the world, so you should know about it. Schools on how to set up a dinner, a lunch table for the ladies, right? For our young women, so they have some type of formal education and how to operate within a household. We also teach out of the Family Guide. What are the husband's responsibility toward his wife? What is the wife's responsibility toward the husband? And how should both the husband and the wife, their responsibility, their genetic contract with the offspring, son or daughter? Because like I mentioned earlier in the show, the brother from Chicago said, we don't know how to raise children. So it's time for us to reteach family values and history. Because if you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going, right? So it's very important that we learn language, because when you learn language, your whole mind shifts in how you look at existence. The words that you use to describe your existence will change. You'll no longer be trapped in the English box of explaining and also the disadvantage is if you're talking English, the enemy knows everything that you're saying. Everything. At least make them get a translator. Make them get a couple translators to try to break down what you're saying. Because they got to know what you're saying to bring it up in court. You know what I'm saying? So think about this, man. You know what I mean? Alhamdulillah. Okay, let's continue.
The amygdala, the hippocampus, the prefrontal cortex. Where exactly is the ADHD so we can see it first? I need to see it. Where's the reading disability? The top, side, bottom? Can somebody show me where the reading disability is in your child's head? Can you show me where the emotional disturbance is? You can't. It don't exist. These are not biological disabilities. They are imaginary ones. White folks made them up to destroy black children's opportunities, killing their futures before it even gets here because some docile black parent loves to sign papers. If it was up to me, every time a black parent signs something you had no business signing, your finger should be broke off.
But that's how serious it is, and I agree with him. Your fingers should be broken off. You know what I'm saying? The women out there. You know, I wish we had a Nuwabian like dating service, but you would have to join the nation first. But something that, will promote cultural value and just getting back to what's natural, because black people are going crazy because they're out of their natural element. Simply. All right, so we're going to end the show there. Actually, as I end the show here, I'm going to play a song that I made, and it's called Like Water. It's actually going to be on my album called Sent to You, Nuwabian. So if you guys could support it, that would be awesome. Give me your opinion. I'm also going to upload this audio on YouTube. So, everybody out there, be well, be safe, and study the society that you live in and who you are and how you need to be living. I don't want to say in the world. Well, you got to live in the world. Just don't be of the world. Don't partake in all this pornography that you're trying to show your kids. And now they want your kids to be gay. They teaching it in gay. And Nuwabians, no gay stuff. I always say that if gay people, we're not going to beat up gay people, nothing like that, but we don't have to agree with their lifestyle. It goes against our religion and our doctrine and our way of life. And for the simple fact that if they want things to be gay, in the United States, they're trying to push this in Africa, and Africa is like, well, Ghana and Liberia and other countries in the continent of Africa, which we call Nubia. And they're rejecting it, you know what I mean? And they should. We reject it also as Nuwabians. We don't accept gay stuff. But if the gay people want their own high schools and stuff, give it to them. That's cool. Have an all-gay high school or all-gay college. That's I don't have a problem with that, as long as my child does not go there. You know what I mean? But the problem is the devil wants to turn your straight child into a gay child. That's where the satanic activity comes in. And don't forget what they tried to do in Target. A satanic transgender is trying to talk to your children about being satanic and gay. All right? Now we're going to leave it there. I'm going to play the song, and hopefully everybody has a good day.
Said move, let me build, baby. Let me build. This beat's pounding your chest, Pharaoh's gold in my rest. Cats looking for door, rhyme holding you pure. They can't touch me, plus they sweet like Nestle. It don't impress me. You Elvis Presley on the mic 1, 2. Yes, y'all. The king of judges who makes the final call. Kneel to my will, cats still refuse. Lose like Israel, the Lord blows the fuse. Surveillance fell off. Died on the cross, the Nuwabians well off, and born to be boss. Hell snowing degrees, play these dumb MCs, flex my degrees, knowledge spans centuries. Hear me in the wind, don't become corrupt within. Give the song a spin, become 360, or fall in the pit. You're worthless, can't spit, saliva on the mic, but you ain't saying shit. My flows are just,
just like wood.
Right knowledge is just
like wood.
Right understanding is just
like wood.
Right wisdom is just
like wood.
My flows are just
like wood.
Right knowledge is just
like wood.
Right understanding is just
like wood.
Right wisdom is just
like wood.
You can't rap ill like second to none. I'm the first and second to none. I wrote some diamonds, second guessing it, huh? Let me drop this on you. It ain't all about funds. You can heat seek my flow, but can't sink it. Mind your mind for the best kept secret. Boom, boom, while I'm hitting your soul. Zoom, zoom, we cruise this roll off the cliff. Now ain't that something? The other day, you was fronted and stunted. Now confronted by an etheric beam. So well connected that they feel them in the beam. When it comes to those notes, man, I wouldn't sing. When it comes to this flow, the current is like a stream. Think faster than light. Nuwabu is the doctor. I can see that ignorance has you hostage. My flows are just
like wood.
Right knowledge is just
like wood.
Right understanding is just
like wood.
Right wisdom is just
like wood.
My flows are just
like wood.
Right knowledge is just
like wood.
Right understanding is just
like wood.
Right wisdom is just
like wood.